In reality, we find that massive commercial construction projects almost never fail because of a sudden, catastrophic engineering mistake. The actual root cause of timeline collapse usually traces back to day one, driven by seemingly minor logistical and coordination gaps made while the site is still just a patch of dirt. This initial phase is governed by Division 01 General Requirements. It is the section of the Master Project Manual that dictates the temporary facilities, administrative rules, and safety protocols for the entire job site. Project managers face a difficult dilemma right out of the gate. They must balance strict mandates of compliance against the pressure to minimize upfront general conditions cash burn. Treating site setup as a bare minimum checklist creates an illusion of capital efficiency. That illusion is immediately destroyed the moment downstream operational delays begin stacking up. Site mobilization serves as the physical installation of a project's operating system. Fragmenting vendors saves pennies on individual items, but shifts the heavy burden of daily coordination onto the site superintendent. An integrated setup requires a higher initial outlay, but ensures trades function at full capacity the second they arrive. A functional job site rests on 4 non-negotiable pillars: infrastructure, worker support, operations, and safety. The challenge is calculating the true return on investment for these pillars, so you can determine exactly what is worth paying for before a single shovel hits the ground. Every dollar saved on initial site setup is ultimately paid back with interest through lost productivity and increased liability. The first pillar is site infrastructure, which covers perimeter fencing, lockable gates, and MUTCD-compliant traffic signage. The MUTCD is the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, the national standard dictating how temporary road signs and barricades must be deployed. Setting this up requires deploying hundreds of linear feet of see-through temporary fencing and engineered double-swing vehicular gates. This hardens the perimeter to control safe ingress and egress, while physically deterring the opportunistic theft of expensive materials. The trade-off is that this demands substantial initial capital and highly accurate spatial planning before any layout begins. When you underinvest in this pillar, you leave the site exposed to immediate risks and easily bypassed security measures. An unsecure site legally becomes an attractive nuisance. If a member of the public wanders in and is injured, your site actively invites devastating liability lawsuits. Moving beyond the fence, establishing clear public vehicle detours and heavy equipment staging areas is mandatory for municipal compliance. A compromised perimeter bleeds capital through theft and liability long before the actual building begins. The second pillar is worker support, focusing on the deployment of toilets, hand wash stations, and field offices. Baseline OSHA compliance requires a minimum of 1 sanitary facility and hand wash station per 20 workers, placed in accessible locations. OSHA is the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, the federal regulatory agency enforcing workplace safety laws. Meeting this requirement creates a legal health baseline and establishes a centralized hub for daily pre-shift safety huddles and coordination. The trade-off is that these facilities consume valuable physical space on the site footprint and mandate ongoing weekly servicing costs. But the hidden ROI is massive. Skimping on break and sanitation facilities forces high hourly rate workers off-site for basic needs, resulting in severe, untracked daily labor productivity drains. The third pillar, operations, provides the continuous power, lighting, and waste management necessary to keep the project moving. The physical inputs here include towable diesel generators for temporary distribution, mobile LED light towers, and right-sized roll-off dumpsters with scheduled pulls. Managing this equipment introduces high logistical overhead, forcing your team to track fuel usage and aggressively police waste segregation. This chart shows how equipment rental costs directly influence trade idle time. Proper temporary infrastructure enables continuous material flow and prevents specialized trades from waiting around. Without robust utilities and scheduled waste clearing, highly paid specialized trades are left standing idle in debris, waiting for permanent tie-ins. The final pillar is safety. This focuses on pedestrian protection, emergency readiness, and 24/7 site monitoring. The inputs include rigid pedestrian barricades, clear emergency muster point signage, and solar-powered surveillance cameras. Maintaining a safe barrier between heavy construction and civilian traffic requires a clear, public-facing visual deterrent. This forces a difficult trade-off.
Safety systems require relentless daily maintenance, housekeeping checks, and the continuous adjustment of barricades as the site footprint evolves. Treating safety setup as a dynamic daily operational requirement is the only effective shield against project-killing OSHA shutdowns and lawsuits. Ultimately, site setup is an exercise in capacity planning, where safety, support, and operations operate as deeply interconnected systems. This matrix shows how you scale the mobilization package to match the specific liability and density of the project, moving from basic fencing up to a fully supported compound. A budget-conscious subcontractor might stick to extreme spatial efficiency and basic panel fencing. But keeping hard costs that low means accepting a massive increase in manual coordination and superintendent time. On the other hand, a time-poor general contractor will shift the focus entirely to vendor consolidation and high-end operational scalability. Mid to large projects must utilize comprehensive, single-source mobilization packages rather than tracking a dozen fragmented invoices. The premium paid for an integrated site setup is immediately offset by hours saved in procurement friction and the guarantee of day-one readiness. Stop viewing day-one mobilization as a sunk cost checklist and start treating it as your most important investment in project schedule integrity.